You can take as many supplements as you like. You can go to the gym as much as you like. But if you're not plugged into your inner aliveness and erotic essence, like our sexual life force is like rocket fuel for life.
Welcome to Women Thrive Season 5. This season, you can expect incredible conversations with women from all around the world. We at Women Thrive, not only do we put on incredible conversations with women, host events, retreats, publish a magazine, publish books, and we have created a platform for every woman to shine and share her message. So you right now tapping into a podcast that is globally recognized as the place for women to be and share their message. Be inspired, be part of the conversation, and let's thrive together. Hello and welcome to Women Thrive Podcast. I'm so excited to have you here for another phenomenal interview with one of our speakers today. I'm excited to welcome Sally Berg to our podcast at Women Thrive. Hi, Sally. How are you?
I'm really well. Thank you for welcoming me, Ramonda. It's just amazing to be here. I'm really excited. Thank you.
Where are you joining us from today?
I live in Somerset in the UK, in the countryside. It's very beautiful.
Amazing. Yeah. I love your background. And for those of you on podcasts, you get to see us on video. You got these beautiful flowers. And actually, what we're talking about today might make sense why your backdrop is the way it is. So just to give a little insight, today we're talking about living a turned on life and how to really step into your next phase in life feeling like a real goddess. And I had an opportunity of getting to know Sally behind the scenes before we began today's podcast. And I can tell you this conversation is going to be juicy. Super interesting story that Sally is going to share with our audience today. And I think every woman needs an evolution, a moment in our lives when our lives turns a page and really gives us not even permission, but gives us the keys to unlock our true feminine embodied selves and feel like a sexy goddess, right? So that's what it's about today, living a turned on life. And my guest today, Sally Berg, is a midlife mentor and erotic embodiment coach who is the visionary behind Mature Eros, a woman who refused to fade quietly into the background. And instead, she chose in her 60th year to blaze a new trail for midlife women everywhere, all around the world. And so she is a pioneer in female pleasure and erotic embodiment and living proof that maturity is not the end of desire, but actually ignition to a deeper, richer Eros and vitality. I'm excited to actually bring her on today's conversation because her work with women in premenopause stages, menopause stages, and maybe rediscovering your sexuality, dealing with trauma, is the work that she really embodies and can talk from her experience. And I know many of our audience and listeners want to have that conversation, but maybe there aren't enough safe spaces to do that. And I love that Sally is very open to sharing her story and also hopefully giving some tips and guidance and strategies for the women who are going to listen to this podcast. So Sally, warm welcome to Women Thrive Podcast.
Thank you, Ramonda. I'm delighted to be here and to be sharing all my juicy magic.
Yes, and you certainly look like a goddess yourself. Tell us a little bit more about your journey and how you got to do the work that you're doing today.
Thank you. Well, as you can see, I'm sexy at 60 and feeling more vibrant, magnetic, and sexually turned on than I ever have in my life. It's totally possible. And I'm really busting a few myths about aging in our youth-obsessed culture. The narrative says that we're on a trajectory to becoming dried up old bag. Not true. And I feel like I'm creating a new map and a template for midlife women and saying, our erotic aliveness and embodiment, for me, is the starting point. It is the portal to health and well-being for midlife women. You can take as many supplements as you like. You can go to the gym as much as you like. But if you're not plugged into your inner aliveness and erotic essence, like our sexual life force is like rocket fuel for life. Everything comes from this. It's not just about having sex. Our sexual life force fires our creativity, our purpose, our intuition, our joy. And if that starts to diminish, which is very much the case often for midlife women, that, you know, they've spent decades pushing through in their masculine, probably holding down demanding careers, juggling children if they chose to have them, aging parents, a bit of social activism on the side, so much. We're not called the sandwich generation for nothing. We're like tightly squeezed. So most women hit perimenopause like a brick wall. And I think it's often to do with cortisol. Cortisol creates inflammation, brain fog, drop in libido, can lead to autoimmune diseases. And what I've learned in my own journey and my own life and the research I've done and the training I've done is that cultivating oxytocin, which is the feel-good hormone, oxytocin is like magic, like a magic elixir in the body. And it starts counteracting the effects of cortisol naturally. So when we are in pleasure, it resets our nervous system into ease. It creates space in the body. And we can actually start to like feel and breathe and use our senses again. It awakens our senses and our sensuality. And from that place, an aliveness can start to move through our body again.
Yeah.
But pleasure is a practice, not a given, because it's often very low down the to-do list, right? Mm. There's so much else pulling at us in life that we think is a priority. But what I'm saying is come back to your own body. Your own body of wisdom holds the keys to heaven.
Yeah.
And if we activate that again, it really is like magic. And it's done naturally. Obviously, we can supplement it with different things, different exercises and food. There's lots of elements of the journey through menopause that are really important, but it is like a minefield. I call it the menopausal minefield. I think most women are like, what the actual fuck? I don't know where. I've already got brain fog and I just don't know where to start, like who to turn to, what to do. And they spend a fortune on this supplement, that thing. And of course, there's a bit of a menopausal gold rush going on because so many people have thought, haha, here's a great way to make loads of money. But what I'm saying is that these keys and maps that I bring support you to actually do it yourself, to do it naturally, to reactivate your own body. And we've been taught that our bodies are not good enough. We've spent decades, centuries being told that our bodies are not enough. The diet culture of the 80s, we've been programmed to think that there's something wrong with our bodies. We're too thin, we're too fat, we're too wrinkly. We have had that imposed on us for centuries. So is it any wonder that we're at war with these beautiful bodies that actually hold so much wisdom, but we've become disconnected? We think we have to find solutions from outside our bodies, right?
Yeah.
Our bodies don't know the answers.
And I think, you know, as you mentioned as well, that society will give us that women have an expiration date or women become older and not as productive force of life. But I think, and I've worked with many women in their older ages who revitalized, they excited about life, about creativity, being that life force, being that woman of wisdom, because at that age, you're truly bringing a lot of life experience and wisdom into the world. But it's like, it has to be a shift of almost your identity and you being able to cultivate that energy. So a lot that we're talking that women can become that life force, and they are, is just figuring out how to cultivate. And now I know you've gone through your own evolution, and behind the scenes, we've talked a little bit about your own journey of healing some of the past wounds. Take us back to that moment when maybe that evolution started for you and what you had to do to get here and the massive transition that you've gone through yourself.
Yeah, no, I'd love to share my story. Thank you. I've been on a long healing journey really for 15 years, from growing up with a bipolar alcoholic father who sexually abused me, which really impacted my adult sexuality. I realized that I'd never really felt safe to be fully sexual in my body. I always struggled to orgasm. And so it just really took the edge off my own fullness in my sexuality, even though I was in a happy marriage for a long time. And then I became quite seriously depressed for 5 years after the birth of my second son, which I now see as a gift, because the gift of the depression was that I started understanding that my trauma was trapped in my body. I couldn't talk it away. And then Tantra found me. And I was in a cafe one evening and this amazing woman walked in and she was just radiant and magnetic. And I just thought, I want what she's got. So I went to speak to her. I said, who are you? And what is your secret? And it turned out she was an international Tantra teacher, Shakti Malan, bless her. And I worked with her for 10 years and that changed everything for me. I had this huge awakening in my body, a Kundalini awakening that really started shifting a lot of the old trauma, dancing, movement, breath work. And so that this enlivenedness in my body and this embodiment just really brought the joy back for me. And sadly, it led to the end of my this sort of expansion and aliveness created a contraction in my ex-husband. But now I see the divine perfection of it, because that's what had to happen for me to birth Mature Eros. So 2.5 years ago, at the age of 57, I was sat thinking, okay, I'm in a sexless marriage. We hadn't had sex for about 7 years. I felt pretty frozen sexually. And I thought, oh, well, I'm never going to have sex again. And we're just going to be companions. And again, I think that's quite common for a lot of women in long-term relationships. They just think, oh, well, this is it. And for some people, maybe that works. I'm not knocking it. But for me, I was like, I want more. And so we parted company amicably, set each other free, really. And after that, that year was brutal because I moved countries. I'd been living in South Africa for 20 years, moved back to England. We ran a business together. I moved to a town I'd never been to in my life, had to start from scratch, holding my son through serious mental health issues. I mean, it was brutal. I was face down in the dirt, covered in snot and tears, broken. And it was like a big dive into the underworld. And as you touched on earlier, Ramonda, it's like, this descent into the underworld, this sort of rite of passage is such an important piece for women, and particularly at this age in midlife, I think. We have a choice. We can either put up with a lot of stuff that's not serving us, relationships, work, ways of being, our own patterns, or we can just step up and face it and do the inner work and see menopause as this powerful rite of passage into this new chapter that can be our most amazing yet, which is my experience. I'm launching a whole movement with Mature Eros, and I'm so passionate about this piece, about reframing this narrative around aging, that cultivating us into eldership, like we are elders, we're not elderly. And as you said, so many women are just sort of think they're going to be parked off in the shadows. But as you've experienced, so many women at this age, we have so much to offer. We have so much wisdom and what my friend calls QBL, qualified by life. And we embody that, and we can bring that to support ourselves and our communities and our families. But it's not recognized in Western culture. Mm-hmm. So I feel like there's a whole tsunami of women like me creating a new map and a template. We're like trailblazing how to step into eldership, but like into eldership that's juicy and sassy and turned on. A turned on, mature woman is unstoppable. For me, that is female leadership at its best.
Yeah, I love that. I think the experience that you had in that coffee shop when you met your mentor and the vibration of confidence, sassiness, the joy, it really is cultivated from deep within. But, you know, sometimes it takes for something to happen in your life, for that edge moment where you have to take a leap, you have to make a decision that today is the last day of the life that as I know it, because I make a decision. And sometimes life actually brings us to that moment, not by choice.
Traffic. Exactly. We get a big bitch slap.
In a recent podcast episode, I spoke to another lady and she was like, it's either a brick, a something, or a bus that hits you, and like at first it's a little knock, and then it's a brick, and then if you don't listen and you don't answer the call, the bus will knock you out.
Exactly.
Just bring it to your awareness. And I think it's so powerful when we come to realization for ourselves, for we as women, that I'm not done with it yet. I'm not done with life. I'm not done with my sexuality. I'm not done with realizing my ideas, my dreams, and I still got so much more to give. And that's just a powerful moment where a woman can say, I'm going to shift this and I'm going to become that woman maybe that I desired to be my entire life. And what it sounds like that your life experiences at a young age almost prevented you from truly and fully living and embodying who you were always meant to be, in a sexual way, in embodied way, in the most powerful and authentic way, because trauma does that to us. It kind of locks us away, our true identity, and it creates this fear within to really step in and enjoy the life the way you could have. So it's really brave and courageous for you to work through all the trauma and step into who you truly were meant to be and live this decade of your life and hopefully the rest of your life being the goddess that you are.
Thank you. Yeah, it really is that. And it's just, it takes a lot of courage. I think courage is something that comes up a lot for midlife women. Do I have the courage to step into this next iteration of myself? And because we don't have elders often in our culture modeling that, I feel that responsibility as well. Like I notice when I interact with younger women, say at festivals, I'm holding a workshop and they're just like, oh my God, you're so fucking amazing. We want to be you when we grow up. And that really melts my heart because so many younger women, not only midlife women, so many younger women are so fearful of aging and they're doing work on their bodies and their faces and trying to stay young because that's what we live in our youth-obsessed culture that reveres the maiden archetype. Because guess what? The maiden archetype, she has her place. We all have that archetype in us, that more playful, light one. But she's not as powerful as the elder crone archetype, which is why female sexuality has been shut down for centuries. That's why when organized religion came in with the Roman Empire, they were like, we're going to shut this shit down. We're not going to have the women in the temples. We're not going to have the women bleeding on the land and revering the land and doing their fertility rites. Why do you think they shut it down? Why do you think all the witches were burned? The witches, they were like the village oracle, the midwives, the healers, the powerful female leaders in their community, all of them shut down, killed, persecuted. We still carry that witch wound in us today of like, oh, can I really be this big? Oh, can I be this loud? You've worked with thousands of women, and I feel like we're on a threshold. We live in extraordinary times that is asking for all of us to step into our power in that way. But what I call a soft power. This is not women behaving like men. This is not women shouting and being really aggressive with everyone. This is we're all fucking rising together, shoulder to shoulder. This is collaborative, inclusive. There's not the competition. It's like the space for all of us. Let's do this together with sisterhood. The more we support and encourage each other, the more powerful we are. And we do it with grace and humbleness and this beautiful soft power that comes more from the back body, which is what I teach. I teach how to embody that. Because again, we're so wired to be like pushing through and forcing everything in the world because that's what the modern workplace is set up for. It's set up for men. There's no honoring of menstrual cycles, childbirth, childcare. It's like, no, you've got to be at work from this time to this time and just. So, yeah, we've got to start with our own bodies.
Yeah.
And recalibrate them out of that patriarchal conditioning that's running in us. It's not, the patriarchy is not only out there, it's in us. So that's what this work with eroticism and sensuality is so supportive of, because it softens us. It reminds us that our bodies know what to do. It brings us back to our bodies rather than thinking something outside is going to make us feel better.
Yeah.
Because like you said earlier about that piece getting louder and louder, the brick, the buff, that's what's happening for a lot of women in perimenopause. Their bodies are shouting with symptoms of like the brain fog, the drop in libido, the weight gain, the sleeplessness. The body is going, I can't cope anymore. You've been pushing through for too long, and I'm just going to keep giving you signs until you hear me. And that can lead to disease and illness and feeling really shite all the time.
There's so much social conditioning that we have to be strong, we have to be resilient, and especially the expectation as you are going through menopause, or as you are stepping into the next decade of your life, to keep up, to perform, right? But I think for women stepping into that next decade of their lives, it's actually coming from a different place, if I may say that. It's stepping into that wisdom, the matriarchy role, the leader, and not chasing the hustle, but instead really embracing your wisdom and different, I guess, pace of performing, which maybe you're not used to because your whole life you maybe chased titles and success and all kinds of things. And that burnout isn't how you need to be continuing your life. Actually, just stepping into not performative leadership anymore, but more embodied leadership. And that's where it comes from, really much deeper within. And you feel when a real embodied leader steps into a room, you feel their presence before they even had an opportunity to speak. You just see them, like that woman that you mentioned in the coffee shop. She walked in through the door and you felt her presence. You can't deny it. And that's why that leadership, it doesn't need to be loud or performative. It actually just needs to be embodied, and you bring it, and you can lead. You can lead even without speaking, right? I truly feel that a true solid leader who has done the inner work will show up in such a way that is really inspiring for others.
Yeah, exactly that. Embodied leadership is the way forward, because I think we've all had enough of performance.
Yeah.
And we all feel the inauthenticity of performance. And for women, when we're in performative mode, it's so exhausting. It's not resourcing and energizing like embodied leadership is. It's got a very different flavor. This is about present. Like you said, we don't even have to open our mouths. People feel us.
Yeah, it's effortless.
Embodied. It's effortless. It flows. It's got ease about it. And when we're living it, that's the inspiration for other women. We don't need to necessarily teach anything. We're leading by example.
Yeah.
And yes, I've got plenty of tools and practices to support women in this work that have amazing results. But I know as well that it's just being in proximity with me, the transmission from me, because I'm living it. I've got the presence. And that's, again, when I walk into a room, when I hold a workshop, women feel it. And there's a magic about that as well, that to just feel that magic.
Yeah.
It's inspiring for others of like, gosh, yeah, that could be me. Like 3 years ago, she thought she'd never had sex again. And now look at her, she's on fire. And I'm literally having like the best intimacy and sex of my life. I mean, hello.
Okay. Give ourselves the permission to be that woman who can enjoy and live life's full pleasures. Give yourself the permission, because again, the world will expect us to perform, but actually it's not about performance for anybody else's pleasure. It's about how you feel. And women have gone through a lot of trauma, a lot of conditioning, and even generational trauma that has suppressed us and not allowed us to truly express ourselves. And I think that's a huge shame, because that sexual energy is one of the most profound and strongest energies there is to cultivate from. But if you're not able to tap into it, you're almost like pulling yourself back, right, from being able to step into it and co-create with that energy.
Exactly, because it's not just about, I think people hear pleasure and they think, oh, it's just about having sex and maybe they don't want to have sex. That's fine.
Yeah.
But there's a different piece here around our sexual life force energy, because it is like rocket fuel for life.
Yeah.
And it's like a fountain and a source in us that can be so nourishing and rejuvenating. And for me, this cultivating this pleasure, it's everything. It's the starting point for everything. And that's why as well, we live in extraordinary times. The world is on fire. So we can sometimes think, oh, but pleasure, that's frivolous.
Yeah.
We put it very low down the list, but pleasure is a practice, not a given. And it's our birthright. But pleasure actually is, for me, the primary important piece, because if we're not in pleasure, we're in anxiety and stress, and then we can't respond in a positive way to the world being on fire. We react. We're going to shut down. Our nervous systems are frazzled. That's why I'm also a big fan of pleasure activism. There's an amazing book. I just want to credit the author here, Adrienne Marie Brown. So pleasure activism for me is all about like seeing that the world is on fire, but responding from a place of a regulated nervous system, of being in pleasure, so that I then have the energy to think, yeah, I'm going to go and clean a river this weekend. Yeah, I'm going to do a fundraiser for a charity of my choice. That's what pleasure does. It's like a resource that gives us the tools and the embodiment to actually be an amazing, better human being that's more loving and joyful, but we're, again, as women, we've spent decades serving others, caring for others. So we think that our pleasure is not important. It's actually the most important piece, I think, because when we're not in our erotic aliveness, we're not only not serving ourselves, we feel like shit. We're not going to be great with our partners, our children, our family, our community. We can't be the best we can be if we're not in pleasure.
Sure. Sally, I'm excited that our audience getting to know you and getting to know your life's wisdom. But how do people work with you? How do you take them on a journey of this transformation? Do you have programs, courses, is it group programs? What do you actually offer?
Well, at the moment, I'm very excited to be offering bespoke one-to-one journeys. So it's a 3-month journey or a 1-month journey, because I feel like this work, we're all different. Our nervous systems are different. Our traumas are different. So I'm really focusing on one-to-one bespoke mentorship at the moment, because I feel like that's how I'm going to have the best impact, to work very closely with someone, to get to know them, their history, their trauma, their nervous system, what they're struggling with. That really lights me up. I'm also doing corporate wellness programs. I've had a massive calling to get into corporate, because I feel like high achieving women are the women that really need me, because they've ticked all the boxes, but they feel maybe dead inside. Their desire has fallen away. They're not sleeping well. So I feel like that's where I'm really needed. So I'm also offering like corporate wellness programs for female-led entrepreneurial businesses. We have a cacao ceremony. We do embodiment practices, a bit of dancing and movement. And it's all about reactivating our pleasure and then connecting together within the team. So I'm really passionate about that. I love speaking on stage. I want to be on stages everywhere. I want to go and speak and inspire women. I feel like that's one of my biggest callings right now. So invite me to come to your business branch. Anyone who's watching, I love coming to connect. I love being with, it's like my favorite place to be. And I love inspiring other women. So yeah, I love speaking. And there will be some retreats and workshops and in-person events coming up next year. It's all brewing.
Yeah. I think, when you cultivate a group of women who are in that space and ready to grow, I mean, I love hosting retreats, and it's so transformational when you spend that quality, intimate time surrounded by other amazing people. The transformation is huge, but also that one-on-one work is so important to go deep with a mentor who knows and understands the work that is required, that is trauma informed, because trauma does play a big part in how we show up. And sometimes there's layers to be uncovered. And you mentioned talking therapy just doesn't cut it deep enough, doesn't actually heal the wounds that we need to heal. And I love the work that you're doing. I think serving the demographic that you're serving right now, especially women in their later life or women who are going through menopause or have gone through menopause and they really want to rediscover new life force within themselves. I think it's a huge support and can be really life-changing work for whoever embarks on that journey.
Yes, thank you. Because also I'm really keen to invite women to work with me because this work, it really works. It's worked for me. I mean, I'm bringing, as I call it, like Sal's greatest hits. It's like I bring all of myself, all of my practices, and all of my deep presence and wisdom and trauma-informed knowledge. And this is a journey. This is not a silver bullet. Because again, we're in a culture that's like, oh, give me a pill and make it all go away. And I'm not anti-HRT, but what I'm saying is there are other ways. And I think this kind of journey is much more supportive of our body, our aliveness, and how to become embodied. Because when we're embodied as well, we make better choices. And I call it my pussiometer. Like when we're plugging into our bodies, our wombs, our pussy, we start to operate more from our pelvic area, which holds all of our wisdom, actually. But we've been taught that our head has all the answers. And the mind is amazing and supportive. But for female bodies, we have this magical body. We have these magical womb spaces and our sexuality that becomes this incredible compass and guide. For me, it's like I just tap in and the decisions come like that. But I won't take action in a masculine way in the world until I've plugged into what my body says. Because that's how we make better choices when we're embodied. We can immediately spot bullshit a mile off. We can detect a predator a mile off. It really hones our power. Our sexuality is actually, it's our superpower in protecting us against life and honing us to make the right choices. And I often say this to younger women. It's not about what dress you're wearing. When you're in your full sexual power, a predator will not approach you. Whether you look drop dead gorgeous with a short skirt or not, it's not about that. And it's so interesting because that's what we've been taught again. Like, oh, be careful, make yourself smaller, dumb down, don't wear a sexy dress. It's all control. It's patriarchal control.
Yeah.
I'm calling it out.
Love that, Sally. This is so powerful, and conversations that we need to have. Stepping into your feminine power. The work we do at Women Thrive is really about empowering women with knowledge, the wisdom, the tools, the strategies. And God, I wish there was conversations like this available to me when I was in my early 20s. And having access to that wisdom would have really changed my life, really, preventing you from stepping into the wrong relationships and, I don't know, building healthier boundaries and so many more things that will support women in their lives. Now, Sally, we got to wrap up, but before we do, how do people find you? Where are you most active?
I'd say I'm most active on Instagram, mature.eros. Probably the links will be in there. So yeah, I'm mostly on Instagram and I've got a website. So yeah, come and find me. And if you sign up to my website, you get a beautiful free gift, which is 5 easy pleasure rituals to weave into your everyday. So those are really amazing.
Amazing.
And then you'll stay updated with workshops. And I've got a beautiful retreat coming up next November called Ocean Eros, swimming with dolphins and doing beautiful embodiment practices. I mean, in Mozambique, what's not to like?
Amazing. What's the address to your website?
It's mature-eros.eros.co.uk. Mature-eros.co.uk. But that'll probably be written in the info end. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, Sally, thank you so much for this conversation today. I'm super excited for this episode to drop, for our audience to get to know you. A call out to our audience. If you have enjoyed this podcast today, make sure you connect with Sally, drop her a message on her Instagram, check out her website and her links in the show notes below, and share this episode with someone you know. You never know who just may need to hear this conversation today. So We appreciate you and we look forward to seeing you on another episode at Women Thrive. And Sally, thank you so much for being here and sharing your pure wisdom. I'm so excited for people to get to know you.
Oh, thank you, Raimonda.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Women Thrive Podcast. I'm so thankful for you as a listener for spending time with us, myself and my co-host Abigail, to hear our conversations with our guests. If you have had the opportunity to hear our podcast, do make sure you leave a review and share this episode with your audience as well. This has helped us reach the 5 top % globally ranked podcasts, as well as reach more than 30,000 downloads to date. Your support means so much to us, and this is how we get to reach more people around the world. At Women Thrive Media, we're here to amplify voices of women and empower women to take the center stage and shine a spotlight on their messages.